In this alternate Star Wars timeline, Darth Vader discovers Luke Skywalker at a young age and takes him under his wing, raising him within the Empire. This drastically changes Luke's destiny and the fate of the galaxy. Darth Vader walked through the halls of his Star Destroyer, his black cape flowing behind him. In his arms he carried a small child, his son Luke Skywalker. The boy had been taken from Tatooine before the Jedi or the Rebellion could ever reach him. Vader had made his choice. He would raise Luke as his own, under the watchful eye of the Empire. The dark corridors of the Imperial Palace became Luke's home. He did not know the warm sands of Tatooine, nor did he ever hear the name of Owen and Beru Lars. Instead, he grew up surrounded by stormtroopers, Imperial officers, and the ever-present hum of starships departing for war. Vader kept a close watch over him. The boy had power more than anyone realized. From a young age, Luke could sense things before they happened. He could move objects with his mind. And when his father placed a training saber in his hand for the first time, Luke wielded it with the instincts of a warrior. The Emperor was intrigued. Palpatine had long suspected that Vader's son might be a tool for the Sith, a weapon to wield against their enemies. But Vader was possessive. He refused to let his master corrupt the boy too soon. Instead, Luke trained under his father's brutal instruction, learning the ways of the Force through pain and discipline. There were no bedtime stories of Jedi heroes, no tales of rebellion, only lessons of power, control, and dominance. Luke was told that the Jedi had been weak, that they had betrayed the Republic. He was taught that mercy was a flaw, that strength was the only truth in the galaxy. And yet, something inside him resisted. Despite his father's teachings, Luke was different. He was not cruel like the Sith. He questioned orders. He showed kindness to the officers, even to the stormtroopers who had no names. When he looked at the stars, he felt something calling to him, a whisper in the Force that his father refused to acknowledge. Vader saw it too. He feared it, but he would not lose his son. Not to the Jedi. Not to the light. Darth Vader stood in the dimly lit training chamber aboard his personal Star Destroyer, watching as Luke Skywalker gripped a training lightsaber. The boy was young, barely 10, but there was strength in his stance, determination in his eyes. He was his father's son, even if he did not yet understand what that truly meant. Luke ignited the crimson blade, its glow casting sharp shadows on the metallic walls. Vader stepped forward, towering over him. Again, Vader commanded. Luke lunged, swinging the blade in a clumsy but aggressive arc. Vader easily sidestepped, deflecting with a slight movement of his own saber. Luke stumbled but quickly recovered. "You rely too much on strength," Vader said, his deep voice carrying through the chamber. "Power is nothing without control." Again, Luke adjusted his grip and attacked once more. Each strike was faster, more precise. Vader could feel his son's raw potential, the energy that flowed through his every movement. He was learning, but he was still reckless. Vader struck back, his attacks swift and calculated. Luke barely managed to block in time, his arms shaking under the impact. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. "You hesitate," Vader observed. "A true warrior does not hesitate. The Force is your ally. Use it." Luke closed his eyes for a brief moment, reaching out with his senses. When he struck again, Vader felt the shift. The boy was no longer just attacking. He was feeling the flow of the battle. His movements became smoother, guided by something beyond simple training. Vader parried the next strike but gave an approving nod. Luke was progressing faster than he expected. "You have much to learn," Vader said, deactivating his lightsaber. "But you are strong. With time, you will surpass all who stand against you." Luke exhaled, lowering his weapon. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but his blue eyes burned with determination. He wanted to prove himself. He wanted to make his father proud. Vader watched him closely. The boy was growing into the warrior he had envisioned. One day, they would stand together, not just as father and son, but as masters of the Force. The dark throne room on Coruscant was silent, save for the steady hum of machinery and the occasional crackle of red energy flowing through the Sith artifacts surrounding the chamber. Darth Sidious sat upon his throne, his withered face hidden beneath his hood, his fingers resting lightly against one another. Before him, the towering figure of Darth Vader stood motionless, his black armor gleaming under the dim lights. "You have done well, Lord Vader," Sidious rasped, his voice dripping with cold amusement. "Your son is strong. Perhaps too strong." Vader's helmet tilted slightly. "Luke has great potential, my master. Under my guidance, he will become unstoppable. The Sith will be more powerful than ever." The Emperor let out a low chuckle. "Yes, I have foreseen his strength. And yet, I wonder, where does his true loyalty lie?" Vader's breathing remained steady, but Sidious could feel the tension rising within his apprentice. "He is loyal to me," Vader replied firmly. "He knows nothing of the Jedi ways. He serves the Empire." Sidious slowly rose from his throne, his yellow eyes burning with suspicion. And yet, there is something within him, something dangerous. A flicker of weakness. A spark that could consume him and you. Vader clenched his fist. "Luke is no weakness. He is my greatest weapon." The Emperor narrowed his gaze. "That is what concerns me, Lord Vader. You have raised him well, trained him in the ways of the dark side. But tell me, what will you do when he surpasses you? When the apprentice grows stronger than the master?" Vader did not answer. He could not. The Emperor stepped closer, his voice now a whisper laced with venom. "You still feel something, do you not? You see the boy, and you remember who you once were. The Jedi Knight who was foolish enough to love." Vader's breathing grew heavier. "Anakin Skywalker is dead," he stated coldly. Sidious smirked. "Then prove it." A long silence filled the room. The Emperor circled Vader like a predator, his voice barely above a whisper. "The boy must be tested," Sidious said. "If he is to be a true Sith, he must prove his worth." Vader did not flinch. "What do you ask of me?" The Emperor smiled, stepping back toward his throne. "Take him to Mustafar. Make him kill. Make him destroy. If he hesitates, if he shows weakness, then we will know." Vader's fists clenched at his sides. He had shaped Luke into a warrior, forged him into something the galaxy had never seen. And yet doubt not at the edges of his mind. "Do not fail me, Lord Vader," the Emperor warned. "For if your son is not my greatest weapon, he will be my greatest threat." Vader turned without another word, his cape billowing behind him as he marched out of the throne room. The doors closed with a deep hiss. Sidious remained still, watching his apprentice leave. He could already sense it, the storm that was brewing. The inevitable clash between father and son. And when that moment came, only one Sith would remain. The tension between Anakin and Luke had been growing for years. Anakin, now the Dark Lord of the Sith, had raised his son to be strong, disciplined, and unwavering in his loyalty to the Empire. But no matter how much Luke trained, no matter how powerful he became, Anakin could see the conflict within him. Luke was different. Unlike the soldiers of the Empire, unlike the Sith, he questioned orders. He hesitated before striking down an enemy. There was something inside him that resisted the darkness Anakin had embraced long ago. One evening, in the vast training chambers of Vader's fortress, the air between them was heavy with unspoken words. Anakin stood tall, his black armor gleaming under the dim lights, his lightsaber ignited with a crimson glow. Across from him, Luke activated his own blade, its red hue matching his father's, at least on the surface. They clashed. The hum of lightsabers filled the chamber as father and son exchanged powerful blows. Anakin pushed harder, testing Luke's limits, demanding his strength. Luke countered each strike, his movements precise, but his heart was not in it. Anakin saw it in his eyes. "You're holding back," Anakin said, his voice deep and commanding. Luke clenched his jaw. "There's more to the Force than just power and destruction." Anakin's grip tightened. "That is the weakness that destroyed the Jedi." Luke's blade trembled for a moment. "Or the strength that could save you." Anakin's anger flared. With a powerful strike, he disarmed Luke, sending his lightsaber flying across the chamber. Luke fell to one knee, breathing heavily. Anakin pointed his blade at his son's chest. "If you cannot embrace the dark side, you will never be strong enough to survive." Luke looked up defiant. "Then what am I fighting for? To become another puppet for the Emperor?" Anakin hesitated. For the first time, his son's words cut deeper than any blade. A long silence stretched between them. Luke slowly stood, his breathing steady. "You still have a choice, Father." Anakin turned away, his thoughts clouded. The battle was over, but the real war had only just begun. Luke Skywalker had never questioned the Empire. From the moment he could wield a training saber, he had been taught that order was necessary, That peace could only be maintained through strength. His father, Darth Vader, had raised him with purpose, ensuring he understood the chaos the Rebel Alliance sought to unleash upon the galaxy. To Luke, they were terrorists, nothing more than misguided traitors who sought to bring war and destruction to the very people they claimed to protect. Every lesson, every battle simulation, every mission had reinforced this belief. When he finally stepped onto the battlefield for the first time, clad in dark armor bearing the insignia of the Empire, he saw nothing but enemies before him. Rebels fought with desperation, striking against Imperial forces like a cornered beast lashing out. They hid behind civilians, used deceit, and relied on reckless tactics that endangered the very people they fought for. To Luke, it was proof of their corruption. His skill in combat quickly became legend. Trained by Darth Vader himself, he was faster, stronger, and more ruthless than any Imperial officer or stormtrooper. He cut through rebel ranks like a blade through cloth, leading squads of troopers into battle and crushing uprisings before they could spread. He was a hero of the Empire, feared by those who opposed it. But then came the mission on Ryloth. A rebel cell had taken control of an Imperial outpost, holding officers hostage and using the local Twi'lek population as shields. Luke had no hesitation. He was sent to eliminate the threat. He fought as he always had, precise and unrelenting. But amidst the chaos, he locked eyes with a young Twi'lek girl, no older than 10. She wasn't armed. She wasn't fighting. She was just staring at him in terror. For the first time, something inside him wavered. He had been told that the rebellion cared nothing for the innocent, that they used them as tools. But what if she wasn't a tool? What if she was just afraid? The hesitation cost him. A rebel detonated an explosive, forcing Luke back as his troopers moved in to finish the fight. When the dust settled, the outpost was reclaimed, but the Twi'lek girl was gone. That night, as he stood on the deck of his Star Destroyer, staring out into the endless stars, the doubt lingered. He had fought for the Empire without question. But for the first time, he wondered if everything he had been taught was true. Anakin Skywalker, now Darth Vader, stood on the bridge of his Star Destroyer, gazing into the void of hyperspace. The stars stretched and twisted before him, but his mind was elsewhere. For years he had served the Emperor, believing that power and control were the only paths to peace. Yet, something deep within him stirred, a whisper of a past life, a voice he had long tried to silence. Luke, his son. The boy had been raised in the Empire, trained in the ways of the dark side, molded into the warrior the Emperor had desired. But despite everything, Luke was different. He was strong, yet he hesitated. He fought with skill, yet his heart was not consumed by anger. Even when faced with battle, he did not strike with hatred. Vader had noticed the conflict in Luke's eyes, the way he questioned orders, the way he refused to kill without reason. It was a weakness, or at least that was what the Emperor had told him. But now, Vader was beginning to see it as something else. A strength he had once known. Padmé's strength. Her name sent a shock through him. It had been so long since he had spoken it, so long since he had allowed himself to remember the woman he had loved, the woman he had lost. He had turned against everything she stood for, believing it was the only way to save her. But in the end, he had lost her anyway. And yet, her son stood before him, carrying the same fire, the same hope. During their last training session, Luke had hesitated before striking down a captured rebel pilot. He had looked at Vader, seeking approval, yet something in his gaze begged for another way. Vader had ordered him to kill, to embrace his destiny. Luke had refused. The act was small, but it was enough to awaken something Vader had buried deep beneath years of rage and regret. For the first time in decades, Anakin Skywalker felt something other than hate. Doubt. And where there was doubt, there was the chance for redemption. Luke stood in silence, his thoughts swirling like a storm. For years, he had believed in the Empire, trusted in his father's teachings, and embraced the power of the dark side. But now, everything felt different. The truth had been revealed. Palpatine had never intended for Luke to be anything more than a pawn, a tool to keep Vader in line. The Sith Lord had manipulated him, just as he had manipulated Anakin Skywalker years ago. Vader watched his son carefully, sensing the conflict within him. "You are strong, my son," Vader said, his voice deep and commanding. "But you must understand. Defying the Emperor is not a choice we can make lightly. He will not allow betrayal. Luke clenched his fists. Then we fight, he said, determination hardening his voice. We fight together. For a moment, Vader said nothing. His breathing filled the chamber, mechanical and steady. Then, slowly, he nodded. Yes, he said. Together. The decision was made. When they entered the throne room aboard the massive Imperial command station, Palpatine was waiting. His expression was unreadable, but his presence radiated power. Young Skywalker, he said, his voice dripping with amusement. You have finally seen the truth, but your emotions betray you. You are not ready to face me. The Luke ignited his lightsaber. The blue blade hummed to life, casting a glow against the dark walls. I'm ready, he said. Palpatine chuckled. Are you? Lightning erupted from the Emperor's fingers, crackling with raw power. Luke barely had time to raise his blade, deflecting the attack. The force of it sent him stumbling backward. Vader stepped forward, crimson blade igniting. No more, my master, he said. Palpatine turned his gaze to Vader. You would betray me, after all I have given you. You took everything from me, Vader growled. You will not have my son. The battle began. Lightning clashed against sabers, the force trembling with each strike. Luke and Vader fought side by side, their attacks in perfect sync. For the first time, Luke felt the bond between them, not as master and apprentice, but as father and son. The Emperor was powerful, but they were stronger together. Darth Vader stood beside Luke Skywalker, the hum of their lightsabers cutting through the air. The corridors of the Emperor's throne room flickered with red warning lights as alarms blared. The battle had begun. Luke's heart pounded. He had spent years fighting for the Empire, believing in its order and control. But now, he knew the truth. The Emperor had deceived them both, using Vader as a pawn and planning to discard Luke when he no longer served his purpose. He tightened his grip on his lightsaber. It was time to fight back. The doors to the throne room burst open. A squad of royal guards charged in, their force pikes crackling with energy. Luke moved first, his blue blade cutting through the air in precise, deadly arcs. Vader followed, his crimson saber clashing against the guards' weapons. The Emperor's voice echoed from the shadows. You betray me, Lord Vader. Vader did not hesitate. You betrayed me first. His saber cut down the last guard before he turned to face his former master. Palpatine rose from his throne, his eyes burning with anger. You think you can defeat me? I made you Vader. And you, Skywalker, are nothing without my guidance. Luke stepped forward, defiance burning in his eyes. I make my own destiny. Palpatine raised his hands, and bolts of Sith lightning erupted toward them. Luke barely had time to react before Vader moved, absorbing the attack with his saber. The energy crackled around him, but he pushed forward. Luke leaped, his saber aimed at the Emperor. Palpatine dodged with unnatural speed, striking out with more lightning. Vader grunted, pain searing through his body, but he refused to fall. Luke saw his father struggle. He would not lose him now. Drawing on the Force, he reached out, channeling everything he had into a powerful strike. His blade met Palpatine's hands, breaking his concentration. Vader seized the moment. With a final, brutal swing, he cut through the Sith Lord. Palpatine's scream filled the air before he collapsed lifeless. Father and son stood in the silence. The Empire had lost its master, and now a new future awaited them. Anakin Skywalker stood on the bridge of the Imperial Star Destroyer, gazing out at the stars. The battle was over. The Emperor was dead. The Sith had fallen. Beside him, Luke Skywalker breathed heavily, his lightsaber still ignited. The duel against Darth Sidious had pushed him to his limits, but he had stood alongside his father. Together, they had defeated the greatest darkness the galaxy had ever known. The silence in the command center was eerie. Officers and stormtroopers stood frozen, waiting for the next command. Without Palpatine, the Empire had no true leader. The galaxy hung in the balance. Anakin turned to his son. Luke, the galaxy is ours to shape. We can bring peace, real peace. No more war, no more Jedi against Sith. We can create something better. Luke hesitated. He had fought for the rebellion, for freedom. Yet, standing here, he realized that everything had changed. His father was no longer Darth Vader. The man before him was Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, free of the Emperor's control. Father, Luke said slowly, if we rule through fear, we are no better than the Empire we just destroyed. There has to be another way. Anakin clenched his mechanical fist. I have seen the weakness of the Republic, the corruption of the Jedi. I will not let the galaxy fall into chaos again. Luke stepped closer, his blue eyes filled with determination. Then let's build something different. Not an empire of control, not a republic of corruption. A new order, one that protects without oppressing. Anakin studied his son. The fire within Luke was undeniable. The boy had the strength of a warrior, but the heart of a true Jedi. A long pause filled the air. Then Anakin exhaled. Very well, we will rebuild. But this time the mistakes of the past will not be repeated. The officers around them exchanged uneasy glances. Anakin turned toward them. The war is over. The Empire as you knew it is gone. From this moment forward we fight for peace, not tyranny. Luke lowered his lightsaber. Hope filled his heart. For the first time in years the galaxy had a future. A new future shaped by Skywalkers. Luke Skywalker stood aboard the Star Destroyer, watching the vastness of space stretch before him. He had known only the Empire, trained under the relentless guidance of his father, Darth Vader. The rebels were nothing more than enemies, threats to the order his father had sworn to uphold. Yet, something within him always felt incomplete. When reports came of a captured rebel leader, Vader summoned him. The prisoner was brought forward. A young woman, fierce and unbroken despite her chains. She held her head high, eyes burning with defiance. "You are Luke Skywalker?" she asked, her voice carrying an intensity that unsettled him. He nodded, studying her. There was something strangely familiar about her presence. "I am Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan," she declared. "And you have no idea who you truly are." Luke frowned, glancing at his father, who stood silent beside him. Vader's mask concealed any reaction, but the air around them grew tense. Leia took a step closer. "The Empire has lied to you. Your father has lied to you." Luke stiffened. "You're a rebel. I have no reason to believe anything you say." She smiled, but it wasn't a smile of amusement. It was sorrowful knowing. "You were never meant to be a weapon of the Empire." A flicker of doubt crept into Luke's mind. His entire life had been dedicated to the Sith, to serving the Emperor. But there had always been a feeling, buried deep, that something was missing. Leia's next words shattered everything. "You are my brother." "Luke." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Luke's heart pounded as he looked at Vader, searching for denial, for anything that would refute this claim. But the Sith Lord remained silent. "Tell him, Vader," Leia pressed, her voice shaking. "Tell him the truth." Vader's respirator hissed, his head tilting slightly downward. "It is true." Luke took a step back. The Empire, his father, his entire existence, it had all been built on lies. And for the first time, he questioned everything.